they can with some gypsum board from the inside. It's not really properly detailed today. And none of that steel, half the time it remains without being fireproofed. Some people go and do an intumescent paint coating on it, but it's an afterthought. It's after it comes, and because nobody else can make a decision, okay, let's get it done. And they try to do intumescent painting on site in a construction site with all the dust present. So none of that intumescent paint really sticks. After a year, everything starts peeling off. Again, you have problems. Why? Because the decision making is not preempted. You haven't made the decision up front, and your client is not aware enough to make those decisions up front. The client is worried, is like, hey, if I can save that 3,000 rupees I have to pay that guy, maybe things will work itself out. But instead he spends 5,000 rupees trying to do it afterwards, and 2,000 rupees every 4 years trying to repaint it. Whereas even if you did go for a composite solution, what he needs to understand is that if it's 3,000, you are spending 2,500 to 3,000 rupees just doing a composite system around that steel. So you are really not going to save that much. In fact, based on speed of construction and all that, there's a long-term life cycle cost that will be a better savings for you. So making those decisions up front is very important, and to make those decisions, people need to be aware of real costs and of real processes that need to be taken up front. And simple things like just doing the intumescent paint in factory versus doing it on site. I mean, it is such a ridiculous effort that you have to do if you have to do it on site. But that decision making process, nobody wants to take responsibility for it because it's a cost factor. It's a huge cost factor. Whether we talk to JSSL or anybody else, Western, whoever it is who's coming to do the building, they'll not guarantee that for you up front. They'll tell you, you have made the decision. To us, these are the things that we can do. These are options we have. You look at it, we can put you onto any type of vendor. Intumescent, you want fireproofing that is cementitious, you want fireproofing through gypsum walls around it, encasement in concrete. All of it is possible. You can choose whichever you want to do. But finally, the construction process and speed, the benefit of having worked with steel is lost if the decision making is not there up front. What could have been shipped ready for erection, fully painted from a factory, which comes looking like it's like your car, how you finished it. It's done in a clean room. Here you come and try to do it afterwards just because you withheld making that decision. You're stuck suffering with it. And this is always the biggest sticking point. What to use, where to use it, and finally, how are you going to go about it? One of the buildings that Mr. Basel just spoke about, the Prestige Tower, after everything they've gone with encasement in concrete. If you look at NetApp, they're looking at options of both encasement in concrete around the core, and they're looking at cementitious fireproofing systems that can be done very close. And for some areas, they've decided to go for intumescent. But the decision making is not because they knew what they were doing. It's because it's a solution that will help them get by today and still maintain somewhat of a schedule. That's why they're making those decisions. We have concrete encasement, we have spray-on systems. A lot of issues are there, and spray-on systems are something everybody's worried about because they're not sure what happens above the ceiling. What happens is they get a client who wants to leave an open ceiling, because most of the spaces are going for lease. So if you're talking about leasable spaces, there are people who want to leave the ceiling open, want to showcase the steel structure above, would like not to have that mess to look at. So if you're going to have somebody who's going to come and do an interior design like that, do I want to leave cementitious fireproofing the way? Yes or no? Is that something you can take a call on upfront, or do you want to leave it till the leasee comes in and picks up his space? What are we going to do? Again, those calls need to be made upfront, and the confusion basically continues. Another thing is, if you look at gypsum work for cladding and things like that, the interior contractors are guys who will definitely not take up responsibility for the primary structure. They don't want to take up responsibility for fireproofing requirements. They don't want to take up responsibility for ensuring anything that requires a building code compliance, because as far as they're concerned, they're only doing a fit out. They're only serving their end user, they're not serving the building as a whole. But today no general contractor brings in those guys to do the work either, because that will again be a subcon of a subcon of a subcon who will come. One guy will do the aluminum stud work, another guy will come and do the gypsum, and somebody else is responsible for fire sealing it. And it never, the responsibility of that doesn't go through. And finally, for the client, the responsibility and dependability is what really matters. The clients prefer dependability. They don't like cost, but they can live with it if they know what they're getting into upfront. They need responsibility allocation. Who will take up the baton in stringing all this together? That's really the industry's challenge going forward. And we're not just talking about plain structural steel framing systems today. There are more composite systems that are coming into play. Prefab systems have one of the best prefab concrete facades and buildings also have a big connection back to structural steel, because the primary framework, if it's in structural steel, you're ensuring very good accuracy to the construction. So hanging on all your prefab elements to a structural steel frame is much easier than trying to do it on an RCC frame. So having that interaction again and that connect is something we need to look at. Whether the steel companies or whether the general contractors are ready to work with each other to start looking at all of these systems now, and lightweight construction for interior systems, and light gauge steel construction, that what we're talking about now, just MS frames, continuous frames for up to 5-story buildings. Residential markets, this is what the US is basically driven by. Hotels are being done entirely on the system. And simple frames, it continues like a truss all across, and all your ducts and pipes, everything is literally getting an uninterrupted flow through all of those things. So, I mean, it's a very, very feasible way of doing construction. And today you have great opportunities, housing for all, jobs for all of these things are coming up, right? And 65% of the population is younger than everybody in this room, right? The market is there for you. We're 1.5 billion, we're going to be 1.5 billion before we start, tapering off or settling in. We are already the senior citizens of the country. So what we have to do ahead of us is like a much larger game than anything you have done till now. And can we get ready for the next generation? That's really the question. And you have 7 to 10 years to basically transition and serve probably 10 to 20% of that 65%. Because when they come out and they need jobs, they're not going to get it in the 6 or 8 metros that you have today. All your second tier cities, third tier cities, everything is going to have to start accommodating them. And one of the drivers of both Nehru's vision of the 100 industrial towns and today this 100 smart cities effort is to start ensuring that we are getting ready for that. And unless we, as a whole, come together to resolve this from a logistics point of view, from a liability point of view, from a professional responsibility point of view, we're not going to get out of this easy. And if we need to do 20 million homes in 7 years, which is the vision for the Housing for All scheme, I mean, unless you're going to use all of these technologies that's there today, you can't do that. You'll just keep on, looking for sand. The rivers are gone dry already. Now, maybe the Saraswati will come back to surface because you dug out all the sand, but it's not going to help anything. And this is going to be the biggest challenge ahead of us. Thanks.